Hi, I'm Martin Jarvis, and once again, I want to welcome you to another perspective. Why did the people you follow lie to you, and what to do instead? That's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's very important because in every situation of life, if you're not functioning on your own, there's going to be a leader. Either somebody else is going to be the leader or you're going to be the leader. And the success or failure of an endeavor by an organization or group of people is solely relied upon the effectiveness of that leadership. Now for me personally, my first job was the military when I was 17 years old. After the military, my next major job was NCR Corporation, the corporate environment, for 13 years. After that, the civilian government, the U.S. Postal Service, for 30 plus years. Okay, so I've gotten to see different types of leadership, and too often, more often than not, those we follow are lying to us. So we're going to talk about that today and what we can do. So why do those we follow lie to us? And what I want to share with you is something I learned early on in life when I was a young teenager. Back in the 70s, they had these sunglasses, these mirrored sunglasses. Back in the day, a lot of the police officers used to wear them, but we would wear them as well. And I was a fan of those because I was really a shy young man. And the sunglasses, the mirrored sunglasses, didn't allow folks to see your eyes. And I found that helped me. That gave me a power. That gave me a confidence, because if they couldn't see my eyes, they couldn't see me, okay? And they couldn't see who I actually was. And I learned something else about that time as well. Around that time, I realized that most people are insecure. Most people are unsure of themselves. And those that come off like they are sure of themselves is usually an act that's built from insecurity, okay, an inferiority complex. This is why the military produces such powerful leaders, because they recognize the insecurities in most folks. They recognize the inferiority complex, the way we feel about ourselves. So first of all, what is insecurity? Really? What is it that makes an individual unsure of themselves? What it actually boils down to is that individual silent comparing themselves to other people and feeling like they probably don't measure up. And once you realize that, you have a power. Once you realize everyone is insecure, then you can step in there and play this act of not being insecure yourself. But then you become that leader who lies to his followers. You don't want that, okay? And see, the military recognizes this. That's why you go to boot camp, they cut off all your hair, they give you all the same clothes, and they treat you real rotten. Their purpose is to break you down. And so what does that mean? To break you down really is to remove your self-perception, okay? And given to understand that most people are insecure, pretty much all people are insecure, even the ones that seem secure, they're insecure as well. Now if you have a particular strength in a particular field, like say you ran track when you were in high school, you practiced the martial art in high school, you played baseball or football or whatever, and you were pretty good, you had a confidence in yourself regarding that particular activity. But in the rest of the activities in your life, you're back to that insecurity again, okay? So the military kind of uses that same principle. So again, they'll cut all your hair off, make you look crazy with a bald head, give you all the same clothes, hardly fit, and then as they tear you down, they begin to build you up with your confidence. But they spend a lot of time tearing you down, because that stuff, those insecurities, those are like rooted deep within us. And they have to be pulled out. And once you get to the point, probably the halfway point in boot camp, they start training you. They start giving you an ability to excel. You're competing and conditioning with your peers, and so you're not feeling like your peers are any better than you are. Yeah, admittedly, one might be stronger, or some might be stronger, you might be stronger, but basically you have the same conditioning, you have the same training, you're being built up with confidence. They even have a confidence course at boot camp, and all of the militaries where you run this obstacle course, and its purpose is once you've completed it, there's confidence that begins to grow within you, and basically that's the entire concept of boot camp, is to take an individual that has issues that they garnered from whatever environment they came up in, to take all those issues away from the individual and build them up into a confident, conditioned individual whose inferiorities are gone. Okay, and that's a very positive way to build a leader. The only problem is, in our society in America, 93% of the population have never served in the military. So you have 93% of the population have never had to deal with their insecurities, with their issues, and so they're thrust into management, or they volunteered for management, and they're ill-equipped to handle that position. And so what do you do to give the impression that you're leading, that you're doing a good job? You gotta lie, okay? Not only are you gonna lie to your followers, you're gonna lie to your superiors. You're gonna give them the impression that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and any failures in your organization are certainly not your fault. And they're gonna be putting a lot of pressure on those who are following them, those who they've been placed in to lead. And so this is why they're lying to you so often, why the people that we follow are lying to us. You find this not only in the corporation or in businesses, you also find it in organizations like religions and social organizations, even sports activities. You're going to find folks that have a low self-esteem, that have been placed in leadership, that can't take the pressure of being wrong or a failure. And so they have to lie, okay? And that's a very dismal place to be. Like the place where I've worked for the past 30 plus years, where there's a union. Everyone in management, from supervisors on up, have functioned in craft. And do you know how you go into management in an environment like that? You just say, I want to be in management, and the next day you're in management. There's no qualifications, there's no training, there's nothing. You're just in management. So a lot of times you find people that have stepped into places of leadership that really can't do the job of the people that they're leading, or they don't want to do the job, or maybe there's an element of laziness involved, and they just can't, function in that environment. So now they're in charge. Well, guess what? When you're doing a physical task, laziness will be obvious because you won't get your job done. But when you're in a place of supervision and management, laziness is still there, but its manifestations are just a little bit different. You're just not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You won't have an empathy for the people that work before you. As a matter of fact, you're going to resent the people that are actually doing the job that you couldn't do, and you're going to be very harsh and heavy-handed on those people. And you're insisting upon them doing something that you couldn't do yourself. But then you're going to find when people like that are telling their war stories, they're talking about when they used to function in that situation, they were the best thing since sliced bread. It's a continual lie, continual falsehood. And you'll find that out soon enough. So the question then is not simple. Yes, why do folks lie? I just shared that with you. Because they're unsure of themselves, they don't have any confidence, they don't have any training, they really don't have the ability. Some people, they don't have the confidence because they know themselves, no matter what they look like to everybody that they interact with, in the office, amongst their peers and amongst their leadership. They look one way to them, but when they're at home looking in the mirror, they know who they really are. Sometimes I'm sure they're wondering how, when they're going to be found out. So it's just continual lie. And the subordinates know that, so you know if you're following an individual is lying. Even in social places and even in religions, you're going to lie because of that insecurity. And so when you come up there, say you have some strengths, you have some abilities, and maybe you were military, maybe you see and you have the ability. But when this individual that is insecure sees you, there's going to be one of two reactions. One reaction is they're going to keep you close to them because they're going to recognize that you're going to be doing a good job, okay? You're going to be successful. So they're going to keep you close to them so they can claim you off of your success because they're your leader, okay? Another response to you is they're not going to help you move up the ladder because they need you right where you are, okay? And besides that, when you're insecure, when you have a negative self-image and you don't really think that you measure up, anybody that you see, even coming up under you, that is talented, you're going to be curious and you're going to be kind of concerned that they might be taking your job one day or maybe taking their promotion, what they thought was their promotion one day. So they're not going to help you move up the ladder. And if you're the weak person, a leader that's weak, a leader that's insecure, they're going to surround themselves as well with weak people because they know the weak people, those people who are insecure as well, giving them kudos and warm fuzzies and keeping them in your circle. They're going to be loyal because they know they're not going to make it anywhere else. Okay, so that's going to be an issue for you. Recognizing and wondering why you're dealing with what you're dealing with as far as a leader that doesn't seem to be measuring up. Because that kind of leader often is going to be very loud and often is going to be a bully. Because that's the only response they know that they can deal with, that they can give the impression that they're just fed up with the failures of their subordinates when really the failure is within them. And it's unfortunate. You don't want to be condemning because some of us, all of us at times, are walking in the footsteps of that insecure person and realize that unless you make a concerted effort to get up out of that, that's where you're going to be. And the only way to survive is to lie. That'll keep your job if you're incompetent, can't do your job. And as well, perpetrating this image before your subordinates until they figure it out will keep them in line. Okay, they'll think you know what you're doing, they think you know what you're about, but it's only a matter of time. So you're going to recognize this. The people you follow are going to be lying to you, and not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to, because they recognize that they're not really suited for the position that they're functioning in. Okay. So what are you going to do about it? You have choices, okay? The first choice is to make the decision to recognize what it is I'm telling you, and realize the battleground. You wonder why you're not promoting up. You wonder why things seem to be unfair. Things don't really seem to be working as they should because you're doing a good job. It's because you've got no support from the individual you're following because they have negative self-image and they're not trying to help you, okay? So you have to help yourself, okay? So if you're in a company or you're in a business or even a social organization or a religion, get yourself educated. However educated you are, get more education, whether it's formal or informal. If you've already exhausted the formal education, continue with your education. Keep your mind sharp. Keep your confidence sharp. Believe in yourself. And find a way, as you're functioning within a dysfunctional organization, understand the purpose of that organization, okay? Because that individual that you're following is probably following someone else. They're probably not running the organization because that kind of insecure, inferior mindset is not going to be a successful individual in actually running a business. So this individual we're talking about has someone that they report to as well, okay? So just do your best and recognize the purpose of the organization that you're a part of. And then within the purpose of that organization, find your own purpose, okay? Because when you're working for an individual who's continually lying to you, who's not really competent to do the job, yet they're above you, it can be quite frustrating. So you have to find ways to encourage yourself. let me give you a little example of myself. So after I left the corporation, I went to work for the Postal Service. And within the Postal Service, you're going to find a lot of incompetent management because most of the management simply didn't want to be craft anymore. They didn't want to work that hard, so they figured it'd be easy if they could just get in a position of leadership where they don't have to actually do the work, okay? There's a lot of stress in that position as well. So what you have here is you're getting orders from the people you're reporting to who are really not competent, and so they're lying and presenting this image that they know what they're doing. So they're reporting to their upper management, and their upper management doesn't really have a feel for what's going on this level, and they might give them unrealistic expectations of the folks, you and me, working for them. But rather than challenge their leadership and say this can't be done, they don't have the guts for that. They'd rather just put on you the mission that really can't be accomplished efficiently or effectively. And so what I had to do was I had to find a way to recognize the purpose and create my own purpose. And so my own purpose as a mailman for 26 years, a walking mailman, was I'm getting in shape, okay? So I took the purpose of the post office was to make sure the job got finished, but I had to, for my own morale's sake, create within that environment my own purpose was that I'm keeping in shape. So now my 20-mile mail route became my exercise route, okay? And so I would double time that route. I would put 2 or 3 streets together in one bag, maybe do a figure 8 and finish them in a record time. At the same time, I'm double timing it because I'm doing this for exercise. At the same time, then now from the time I got up in the morning until the time I got off of work, I would eat healthy all throughout the day, nothing but healthy food. So in my mind, I'm going to work and I'm fulfilling the post office purpose by getting the job complete. But my motivation is that I'm getting my health together. I'm going to work out that day. I found myself where I would take leave, I would take vacation, and a couple days before the vacation was even over, I couldn't wait to get back to work just so I could get back to my exercise routine, okay? Find a purpose within the purpose, all right? Now, so there's no other way to deal with a leader that is lying to you except that you need to understand the lie and work within that. You need to understand the purpose of the organization, understand what's expected of your boss, and now where you lie, and figure out how you're going to bring your responsibility to fruition without being frustrated. See, there is no frustration with me. If they give me a particular unrealistic goal, well, because I'm double timing it, I'm gonna accomplish that goal easy. And sometimes I'll get back early. Sometimes I'll get back a little bit later. I feel like I'm not working for that individual anymore. I have 2 purposes. One purpose is to fulfill the mission of the organization, and the other purpose, is my own particular purpose, is to get myself healthy. And if I can work in functioning to accomplish the purpose of the organization, and I can accomplish the purpose that I have put on myself, I'm in effect wiping out the middleman, wiping out this lying leader who I've been following, and I'm simply working for the organization, okay? And you might think, well, you know, that isn't real, that's make-believe. Well, sometimes we just have to convince ourselves in such a way, sort of like justifying it, so we can continue without being too upset. Find a way to continue. Okay, because chances are that individual, now that they're in that position, they're not going to change. Okay, the best thing you can do is do a great job, and I'll give you an example. So I have a purpose within the purpose, and so for years then, I couldn't wait to get to work. I didn't mind going to work because I knew I wasn't going to work. I was going to work out. Okay, and so it's like having a health spa, you know, with all the workout equipment, and they're paying you to go there. Okay, so that's where I was at. So I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to make money, all at the same time. So I'm excited to go. So I didn't call in sick. See, when you have a bad attitude, and a lot of times the bad attitude is a result of poor leadership, lying to the employees, and so you have an issue of ill morale amongst the workers. And you know, I have an MBA, okay? I went to night school, I earned an associate degree, bachelor's degree, and MBA from age 50 to 60. And I understand that the morale issue in an organization is the responsibility of the leadership. Okay, so if you have leadership that's defective, you're going to have poor morale in the ranks, okay? And when you have poor morale, that manifests. That manifests in ways like sick call-ins increase, okay? Injuries increase. Workers just not doing their jobs, not wanting to do their jobs properly, that increases. But when you have proper morale, productivity goes up and sick calls go down. And so I created my own moral environment by utilizing my purpose to get my health together, okay? And so I had almost no sick calls, while other folks were on the verge of they had no sick calls left where they could have sick calls. And I had hundreds of hours built up. So one day, I was asked to go to Cincinnati, to a neighboring city, to a class. And shoot, it was 100 degrees outside. I said, sure. Okay. So I went to this class, and I was the only one in there. Nobody else showed up for the class. And I'm just sitting in the class. It's no problem. I'm not working. I'm at this class, you know. So I'm sitting in the class, and all of a sudden this guy pokes his head around the corner and says, hey, what are you doing in here? I said, I'm supposed to be in a class, but nobody's here. No students, no instructor. So he comes in, sits down, starts talking to me. I mean, he's dressed up in a suit, and we have a conversation about stuff. And I'm telling him, you know, I just got my MBA about a month or two ago. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I just did it for the fun of it. And we're having a long conversation. And finally he tells me, he said, you know, I'm the Eastern District Manager. I didn't know it. And he was talking about, you know, how you doing your job. I said, I do pretty good at my job. He says, well, how's your sick calls? I said, I don't have any sick calls. And he looked like he didn't believe me, actually. And anyway, so we talked about 20 minutes, and he laughed, shook my hand, and he laughed. And then the next day, I'm back on the mail route, about 100 degrees outside. It's on a Friday. And I'm just sitting on my mail truck. I get this phone call from the postmaster of Dayton asking me if I want to step up into management on Monday. That's 100 degrees outside. I said, sure. So they had me report to another station, you know, on Monday. You know, we're in regular clothes. And I spent about a year and a half in management. I ended up not really liking it, you know. But the point is, if you just do what you're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what kind of leadership you have. I think there's a Christian biblical, I have to paraphrase this one, verse that says something like that your gifts will make room for you, okay? So do a good job. Don't be like the rest of the employees that are being negatively impacted by the inability of their leadership to be moral, okay? And so they're mad and they're angry. And when you're mad and you're angry, your productivity is going to get down. Your sick calls are going to go up, okay? So don't let poor leadership affect how you function, okay? Recognize the purpose of your organization. Create a purpose that you can function in for you. And as you're functioning in your own purpose, you're fulfilling the purpose of the organization. And regardless of the leadership who is above you, some way, somehow, you're going to be noticed. You're going to be noticed. And they're going to tap you on the shoulder for something. And so I was like, you know, I left that management when COVID hit. I took a couple months off because my daughter was on online school, and then I had a lot of time to think that I really want to go back into management, you know, and I decided not to. So I went back to the post office as a craft employee, except a driving mailman, because you know, I am like I'm going to be 67 this year, 2025, and so the past 4 years I've been a driving mailman. I still get some exercise, and I do work out at home. I still eat right, so I'm still maintaining my purpose within the purpose of the organization, because the postal leadership hasn't changed. So I cannot be relegated to function in negativity just because of there is an incompetent or inept leadership. I still have to do well. And that's what I do. So in my mind then, so people are telling me now, I have over almost 31 years in so far. And I'm going to be 67 this year, 2025. When are you going to retire? I mean, I don't know. Folks are trying to get me to retire. But I created this purpose for myself within the purpose of the organization so well and so solid, I can't see myself retiring anytime soon, because the health that I have as an old man, I'm in pretty good shape. Why? Because I functioned within my purpose, and the result of that was for me to be very, very healthy. So I'm working, I'm making full-time money. Now I'm a driving mailman primarily, and I'm still building my retirement years. I'm building my Social Security years. I'm still putting into my 401k. I have good hospital coverage. I'm like, and my wife is about 10 years younger than me. She's got her own business, so she's not at home. I mean, so and I'm happy. I'm content. And I'm steadily trying to make other people content. No, it's not half empty, it's half full. It's a very difficult task, so I'm sharing with you right now, since I don't work with you, is to realize that glass is half full if you create for yourself a purpose within the purpose of your organization. It doesn't matter how inept your management is, because you're not really working for your direct manager. Although you might be, technically, you're not working for them. That way, their ineptness, their attitudes, their lying, whatever it is they're about, they can't function in the job. Come on now, it's not going to affect you. Now look how frustrating it must have been for me. I was going to night school. I had just gone to school, just get an associate degree, just to feel I had got a college degree. So I was a walking mailman. I was in my 15th year when I started school. Night school at the Sinclair Community College in Dayton. And that's all I was going to do, was just get an associate degree. But then after the associate degree, I just kept on going, earned my bachelor's degree. After that, kept on going, earned my MBA. But so while I'm taking these business classes, so I've got a master's degree in business, in administration, in MBA. And so imagine this, while I'm taking these business courses from the bachelor's degree on through the MBA graduate studies, I'm working every day and functioning in this dysfunctional environment of folks who have no management, no administration, no leadership training at all. And so I'm learning the modern management and business techniques and tools. At the same time, I'm functioning in a 60-year-old dysfunctional management environment. Man, I wrote papers on the post office when I was in school, expressing the dysfunction of a system of management that's not utilizing modern-day management tools. And how could they? Because their management staff don't have the education. So in a sense, it's not even their fault. And so you wonder, in an organization such as this, and I'm sure there are other organizations around that are affiliated with the government, because a regular corporation, these guys wouldn't even, they would have been axed a long time ago. But in this government, environment, it's been dysfunctional like this forever. I've been there 30 years, and 60 years it's been dysfunctional because financially they've always been failing. And so then you have failing management in all levels of postal management now. And so when they get ready to leave, go on, get promotion or whatever, they just train the next guy to do it the same way they've been doing it. But the way they've been doing it... And so it's too late to fix, because this has gone on generationally. It's so, the dysfunction is so intertwined, it doesn't really matter anymore. It's not going to work. So if you're in an environment, and most of my coworkers are angry. Most of my coworkers are mad. They're not happy because they're functioning, and most of my coworkers are ex-military. So we all know the way leadership is supposed to handle themselves, and we recognize the dysfunction. But what do? This is your job. You have families. You got to make money. What I'm telling you is that you have to find a purpose within the purpose of the organization that flows with it. So while you're fulfilling your purpose, 100% and excited because you're working out, you're exercising, you're taking care. That was my purpose. When you're taking care of your own personal purpose, you're excited about it, you're motivated about it, and at the same time, you're accomplishing the purpose of the organization. And so everybody's happy, and you're not mad. That's the key. So the reality is that's why they're lying to you. The people you follow, they're lying to you because they're not competent. And they're going to keep on lying to you. And their lying to you is really their own survival because they can't reveal themselves. They can't take those mirrored sunglasses off because you're going to see them for who they really are. So they're going to keep lying. But you can't allow their dysfunction to mess you up. You can still succeed. You can still prosper. You can still surpass those that are over you because because you're doing right. Because then we're going to go back to that old age-old principle, you know, what goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. There's a thing called karma. Just keep doing good. And for me, even while I was working like that, you know, I was volunteering, you know, at the Juvenile Detention Center in Dayton for 17 years. I missed 4 weeks in 17 years. Just talking to the kids, inspiring the kids, trying to help them, give all the goodness I could into their lives, and I reap that back. As you continue doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then on the outside doing a little bit extra, you're going to be promoted in life. People are going to recognize you. People are going to see you. And you're going to reap the benefits. You're going to reap the reward for not following into the negativity of those who you are following, by creating your own purpose within the purpose of your organization and succeeding in every aspect of life. That's what I'm telling you. And you know, I know I've been to your ear long enough, so I hope I gave you something to kick around and think about. And I do want to thank you for joining me for another perspective. And I invite you to join me again. You take care. Bye.